Hello, and welcome to our podcast episode number 102. She was homeschooled, then joined a high school with plastics and burn book. I am Timothy, and I am here with my friend Thomas. Tonight, we are going to discuss a film called Mean Girls.
Mean Girls is a 2004 American teen comedy film directed by Mark Waters and written by Tina Fey. The story follows Cuddy Heron, a naive teenager who transfers to an American high school after years of homeschooling in Africa. She becomes friends with two outcasts, and they form a plan to exact revenge on Regina George, the leader of an envied clique known as the Plastics. Well, Tim, what were your initial thoughts?
Oh, Thomas, I thought it was interesting. It definitely brought back memories of my own high school days.
Oh, and what kind of memories are we talking about here, Timothy? The good ones, or the ones where you were locked in the broom closet with Mr. Wiggins again?
Thomas, never mind that story. Anyway, back to Mean Girls, it was a bit overdramatic at times, but I think that's what made it so entertaining.
Overdramatic? It's high school for crying out loud, Timothy. Everything is overdramatized there. But seriously, though, I thought the acting was decent enough, and some of the jokes landed pretty well too. However, I found myself losing interest halfway through the movie.
Well, that's understandable, Tom. You were never really into teenage girl drama yourself now, were you? But anyway, one thing I did appreciate about this film was how it tackled important issues like bullying and cliques in a somewhat lighthearted way.
It's not that I don't care about these issues, Timothy. It's just... Well, let's move on, shall we? So, Thomas, what do you think of the character development? Did you find any of the characters relatable, or did they all blend together for you? Well, I think the character development was okay, Timothy. I mean, you have your typical high school archetypes like the jock, the nerd, and the outcasts. But what I found interesting about this film is how it subverted some of those stereotypes. For instance, Janice isn't just a rebel without a cause. She has a plan for revenge against Regina George. And then there's Cuddy Heron, who starts off as the innocent new girl but gradually becomes more and more like her former enemies. As for relatability, I think that depends on the viewer's own experiences growing up. Personally, I didn't really see myself in any of these characters, but I know plenty of people who have fond memories of watching this film because it reminded them of their own high school days or even current experiences navigating cliques and social hierarchies.
Yes, Thomas, that's true. The film does a good job of showing how quickly things can spiral out of control when you get caught up in these social dynamics. And I think that's something many people can relate to regardless of their age or background. Speaking of which, did you know that Tina Fey actually based the character of Regina George on a real person she encountered during her own high school days? Apparently, there was this girl who was known for being extremely manipulative and cruel to others just because she could. It's pretty fascinating how much of the movie is inspired by actual events like that.
That is interesting, Timothy. I didn't know about that connection between Regina George and Tina Fey's past experiences, but it does make sense considering how authentic some of the scenes feel in the film. And speaking of connections to real life, do you remember when we discussed Mean Girls at that high school assembly a few years back?
Oh boy. Yes, Tom, I remember that. We were invited by the principal to talk about our experiences with bullying and cliques because they were having issues with some of their students. It was quite an eye-opening experience for me, seeing how many kids were dealing with similar problems.
Yes, I agree, Tim. And it's important to remember that these issues don't just disappear once we graduate from high school either. They can follow us into adulthood if we aren't careful. But I think films like Mean Girls can serve as a reminder of how harmful these behaviors can be and encourage people to think twice before engaging in them. So, Timothy, what did you think about the overall message of Mean Girls? Did it resonate with you on any level?
Well, Tom, I think it's clear from our own personal experiences with bullying and cliques, that these issues are unfortunately very real and can have lasting effects on people's lives. But what I found encouraging about Mean Girls is how it portrays characters like Cady Heron and Janice Yan, who realize the harm they're causing and make an effort to change their behavior. It's not easy, as evidenced by Cady's journey throughout the film, but it's possible to break free from these harmful cycles if you have supportive friends and a strong sense of self-awareness. And that's something I think everyone can take away from this movie. Treat others with kindness, empathy, and understanding, because you never know what they might be going through themselves.
That's a great point, Timothy. And speaking of the characters, one aspect of Mean Girls that always fascinates me is the special effects and filming techniques used to achieve certain visual effects in the movie. For instance, in the famous burn book scene where Cady flips through the pages, filled with hurtful comments about herself and others, how did they create the illusion of so many pages turning so quickly?
Tom, according to the behind-the-scenes documentary on the making of Mean Girls, that scene took weeks to film. The burn book was actually a large leather-bound book with pages printed on transparent acetate sheets. They filmed each page individually and then used special effects software to seamlessly create the illusion of all the pages turning simultaneously. As for the speed at which they turn, that was achieved through careful timing and digital manipulation in post-production. It's a testament to the skill of the visual effects team and director Mark Waters, who worked together to bring Tina Fey's vision to life on screen.
That's incredible, Timothy. I always wondered how they managed to make it look so realistic. Now, moving on to another interesting trivia about Mean Girls. Did you know that several iconic lines from the film were improvised by the cast members themselves?
No, Tom, I didn't know that. Which line are you referring to specifically?
Well, one iconic line that was improvised by the cast member themselves is when Cady Heron asks Janice Ian Janice, "Who are these people?" referring to the Mean Girls clique. The line itself was written in the script, but it was Amanda Seyfried who added the inflection of genuine confusion and surprise to make the scene even funnier. Another famous improvised line is when the same characters, Cady Heron and Janice Ian, are sitting on the bleachers discussing their plans for the weekend. Janice casually asks Cady, "Do you know what's worse than getting 1,000 paparazzi outside your house?" To which Cady responds on me, "Getting a restraining order?" The line "getting a restraining order" was actually improvised by Lindsay Lohan herself, adding an unexpected layer of humor to the otherwise somber scene.
That's quite impressive, Tom. It just goes to show how talented and skilled these actors and actresses were in bringing Tina Fey's characters to life on screen. Now moving on to another topic related to Mean Girl. I've always been fascinated by the film's use of color throughout the entire movie. Can you share your thoughts on that?
Sure, Tim. The film's color scheme is very intentional and serves to emphasize the contrast between characters and their respective cliques. For example, the popular girls wear primarily pink, which represents femininity and a sense of belongingness, while the outcasts like Cady Heron wear mostly green, signifying growth and new beginning. The use of these colors also extends to the school's interior design. The cafeteria where the popular girls sit is brightly lit with pink and white hues, while the hallway where Janice and the other outcasts congregate is dimly lit with moody, darker tones. These visual cues help viewers subconsciously identify with specific characters and their respective social groups, further enhancing the film's commentary on high school social dynamics.
That's a very insightful observation, Tom. Now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the impact of Mean Girls on popular culture. What do you think is the movie's most significant legacy?
Well, Tim, it's hard to pinpoint just one significant legacy that Mean Girls has left behind. However, I believe one of its most enduring contributions is the way it tackles sensitive topics like bullying and high school social hierarchies with humor and wit. It's a testament to Tina Fey's writing skills that she can weave these important issues into an entertaining narrative that resonates with audiences of all ages. Another impactful legacy is the movie's impact on the careers of its young cast members, particularly Lindsay Lohan and Rachel McAdams, who played Cady Heron and Regina George, respectively. Both actresses had already established themselves in Hollywood before Mean Girls, but the film catapulted them to new heights of fame and critical acclaim. The movie also launched the careers of many talented actors and comedians like Lizzie Kaplan, who played Janice Ian, and Amanda Seyfried, who portrayed Karen Smith. Finally, I cannot overlook the cultural influence that Mean Girls has had on fashion and language. Terms like slut-tastic and you go girl have become part of our everyday vocabulary thanks to the film's memorable dialogues. And who could forget the iconic girl power fashion statements made by characters like Cady Heron, Regina George, and even the infamous Ms. So, in conclusion, Mean Girls' cultural impact extends far beyond its initial release in 2004. It continues to resonate with audiences today, tackling relevant issues like bullying and gender stereotypes while also leaving a lasting imprint on popular culture and the careers of its talented cast members.
That's a very comprehensive analysis, Tom. Now, I have one last question for you regarding cultural contribution of Mean Girls. Do you think there are any negative aspects or unintended consequences that we should consider when discussing this movie's impact on society?
Well, Tim, it's hard to deny the immense popularity and cultural impact that Mean Girls has had on society, but with every silver lining, there's always a chance of unintended consequences. While the film does tackle important issues like bullying and clique mentality, some critics argue that its portrayal of high school life can be exaggerated and unrealistic, which could potentially normalize certain toxic behaviors among impressionable viewers. For example, the burn book activity led by Katie and her friends, where they secretly write hurtful comments about their classmates, might seem harmless in the context of the film. But it could unintentionally encourage similar behavior among real-life teenagers. Moreover, the movie's depiction of the popular girls as shallow and vicious stereotypes might perpetuate harmful gender stereotypes and contribute to bullying or even isolation of actual teenage girls who struggle with fitting into rigid social roles. Additionally, some viewers have pointed out that the film's portrayal of African characters specifically misses. So, in conclusion, while Mean Girls has undeniably made a significant cultural contribution by tackling important issues and launching careers, it's essential to consider the potential negative consequences that come with its massive popularity. It's crucial for parents, educators, and media creators alike to foster open discussions about healthy relationships, respect for others, and the importance of promoting inclusivity and empathy, both on screen and off screen.
Tom, I think you brought up some valid points about the film's potential negative impact on society. It's important for us as parents, educators, and media consumers to be aware of the messages that our children are absorbing from popular culture like Mean Girls. However, I still believe that if we approach these issues with open dialogue and critical thinking, we can use movies like this one as teaching tools rather than just passively consuming them. As for my final thoughts on Mean Girls, I think it's a cleverly written and well-acted film that manages to tackle serious topics in a relatable and often humorous way. While it may not be a perfect representation of real high school life, it does provide an interesting lens through which we can reflect on our own experiences growing up and navigate the complexities of teenage social dynamics.
I agree with you, Tim. While there are some concerns regarding its portrayal of certain stereotypes and behaviors, if we approach the film with open minds and discuss its themes thoughtfully, it can be a powerful tool for sparking meaningful conversations. In conclusion, folks, Mean Girls is more than just a teen comedy. It's an iconic cultural phenomenon that has stood the test of time. It tackles important issues like bullying, gender roles, and social hierarchy head-on, while also serving up generous doses of laughter and relatable teenage angst. So whether you're a die-hard fan or a casual observer, I encourage you to revisit this classic film and join the global Mean Girls Day celebration every October 3rd. And don't forget to comment, subscribe, and share your own personal experiences with Mean Girls.